Alright, so in this video we're going to look at solving equations with radicals. So this is probably the last part that you would need to know how to do in order to be successful on Monday or Tuesday's quiz when you're finishing that up. So here's what we're going to go ahead and do. Step one is we want to isolate the radical. In other words, we want to get the square root by itself. So I noticed that there's this little -6 on the same side. So what I want to do is go ahead and move it to the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and just add 6 to both sides. What that's going to go ahead and do is this -6 is going to go ahead and cancel out. And so on the left side of the equation, I now have 4x plus 5. On the right side of the equation, I now have, let's see, 2x and then -11 plus 6, that looks like -5. And so now we have the radical by itself. So what I want to do now is get rid of this square root sign or square root symbol. And the way I'm going to go ahead and do that is by squaring both sides. So I'm going to go ahead and square this side, and I'm going to square the other side. Alright, so on the left side, this should be pretty straightforward. The square root and the square are going to go ahead and undo each other. And so all we're left with is 4x plus 5. Now here we have to be very careful on the right side. Don't be tempted. So a lot of students are just tempted to say, oh, 2 squared, 2x squared, 5 squared, and then that they're done. But just keep in mind that we're squaring the entire thing. So what we're actually saying is that we have 2 copies of 2x minus 5. And so this is what we actually have. And so now we have to go ahead and distribute the right side of the equation. So for the left side, I'm not going to do much. I'm just going to bring down the 4x plus 5. But on the right side, I'm going to go ahead and multiply this out. So I'm going to have, let's see, 2x times 2x. That's going to give me 4x squared. Then we're going to have 2x times -5. That's going to give me a -10x. Then I'm going to have -5 times 2x. That's going to give me another -10x. Then I have -5 times -5. That's going to give me a positive 25. So hopefully I multiplied all that out correctly. So let's see if we can combine some like terms. So I'm going to have, let's see, 4x plus 5 is equal to, let's see, 4x squared. We should have minus 20x once I combine these two guys. And then we're going to have plus 25. Alright, so what I noticed, the first thing I noticed is that now I have a quadratic equation, and what gives it away again is this x squared. So I may want to move things over and make it equal 0. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is move over that 4x. So I'm going to get rid of this 4x, and I'm going to combine it with this guy here. And let's see, I'm going to also get rid of this 5, so minus 5, minus 5. And so what that's going to allow me to do is on the left side of the equation, notice the 4x minus 4x, that goes away. 5 minus 5, that also goes away. And so I'm left with 0 equals, and the 4x squared, well, I didn't do anything to that, so that's just going to come down. We're going to have -20 minus 4x, that turns into -24x. And then 25 take away 5 is just positive 20. Now here we're going to go ahead and get ready to solve this, but before I solve it, I'm going to look at all my numbers, or all my coefficients. So I see that I have 4, -24, and 20, and I notice that I can divide every single number by 4. So if I divide this side by 4, this side by 4, this guy by 4, and this term by 4, then 0 divided by 4 is simply just, 0? And then 4 divided by 4, that's going to go ahead and cancel out, leaving me with just x squared. -24 divided by 4 is a -6, and then the x comes along. And then 20 divided by 4 is simply just 5. And so if you ask me, this quadratic equation looks a lot more friendlier than the one that we originally had. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and factor this. Now you can factor this however way you like, but we're just going to use the way we learned in class. So again, 5 goes up top, so a times c, and then our b goes down below, which is negative 6. And so we're looking for two numbers that multiply to 5 but add up to negative 6. And so if we look at negative 5 times negative 1, so negative 5 times negative 1 is 5, and negative 5 minus 1 is negative 6. And so this is going to factor into x minus 5, x minus 1, and then that equals 0. So again, we're going to set each piece equal to 0. So we're going to have x minus 5 is equal to 0. That implies that x is equal to positive 5. All I have to do is just, again, remember, move the negative 5 over, and we get x equals 5. The same thing for this term here. So we have x minus 1 equals 0. Again, I'm going to take this negative 1 and move it over, and that's going to give me x equals 1. So I have two possible solutions, and keep in mind that these are not technically our answers. We don't know yet for sure. We need to go ahead and check our solutions. So I'm going to come back up to my original problem. So this was my original problem. I'm going to go off to the side. So my original problem this was the square root, let's see, the square root of 4x plus 5. And then we have minus 6 equals 2x minus 11. And so what I'm going to do is now check my two solutions that I found. So again, if I go back to my work here, let me see. First solution I'm going to check is x equals 5. So let's come back up here. Okay, so I'm going to check, let's see, check x equals 5. And what I mean by that is we're simply just going to plug in 5 into this equation and see if the left side matches the right side. So let's see, we're going to have the square root of 4 times 5 plus 5, and then minus 6 equals 2 times 5 minus 11. And I just want to check that again the left side equals the right side. So on the left side we're going to have the square root, let's see, 4 times 5 is 20, and 20 plus 5 is 25, so the inside turns into the square root of 25, minus 6, 2 times 5, let's see, 2 times 5 is 10, minus 11, okay. Square root of 25 turns into a 5, so 5 minus 6 is equal to 10 minus 11. So 5 minus 6, that is negative 1, and 10 minus 11 is negative 1. So again, the left side equals the right side, and so we have a match. So we can say that x equals 5, so this guy, x equals 5, that is a solution. Now let's just go back and plug in x equals 1 and see if 1 works out as well. So again, let's see, that's x equals 5. So now let's check x equals 1. So let's see, so check x equals 1. And so that means that we're going to have the square root of 4 times 1. Okay, I got to go back to my original problem, see what comes next, but we had, let's see, 4 times 1 plus 5, okay? So 4 times 1 plus 5, and then we have, let's see, minus 6, okay, so minus 6, and then that's going to equal 2x, or 2 times 1, I believe it was minus 11, yes, okay, so minus 11. And again, we're going to do the same thing and just make sure that the left side equals the right side. So let's go ahead and take care of this. So we're going to have the square root of 4. 4 times 1 plus 5, that's 4 plus 5. Minus 6 is equal to 2 times 1, that's 2. Minus 11. Square root of 4 plus 5, that's going to be 9. And the square root of 9 is 3. So 3 minus 6 is apparently equal to 2 minus 11. Let's see. 3 minus 6 is negative 3. This doesn't look like it's going to work. 2 minus 11, that is negative 9. And so the left side does not match the right side. So we don't have a solution for if x is 1. So this one, we can go ahead and just exclude. And so the only solution that we have is actually just this x equals 5.